Hello, truth seekers. Lawrence here, and welcome to Easy Enlightenment. So, concept wise, you know that truth of who you are is not an idea. And so far, what you know about yourself is full of ideas, isn't it? Definitely, you have gone through some peak experience from certain practices. And after going through those practices have left the ideas in you, isn't it? Now it's just an idea. So, what you know about yourself is an idea. To notice this, to realize this, you have to reflect. Is that true? Everything I know so far is just an idea? And the answer is yes. Everything you know so far about yourself is an idea. Unless you have already realized the truth of who you are, then it's different. If you have seen the unchanging truth, the scenario is different. But most cases, you are not there yet. And when you haven't seen the truth of who you are, then what you know about yourself is full of ideas. And all ideas is not true. When it comes to figuring out the truth of who we are, all ideas or belief is not true. Why? Because it's changing all the time. It comes from the place of experience, and every experience upgrades the idea, and we are, sifting with ideas. And from that experience, we know the nature of the idea or the mind is changing. When it's changing, it's not true. Whether it's the ideas, which is the mind, or the emotion, is always changing. When it's changing, then that's not true. To something to be true, it has to be unchanging. So the mind is sifting. So when you say I am this or that, you're aligned with the changing nature. And when you align with the changing nature, there's a change of attitude in you. There's a frustration, there's a fear, there's a drama, there's a conflict, there's a madness, there's anger. Those things are there. And because of that, we don't know who we are, and the suffering prolongs. If idea or belief is true, then we should be free from our fear, isn't it? We should be free from our struggle. We should be free from the conflicted life. But the reality is not that, isn't it? We are not free. We are struggling. We are physically struggling in the world, and we are mentally struggling, we are emotionally struggling. That shows that ideas is not true when it comes to spiritual enlightenment, when it comes to figuring out who we are. And this is the thing. All ideas that we identify ourselves with is the ego self. When we identify with anything, we see that as the ego self. Notice we have certain preference in life, isn't it? We prefer certain things to unfold in a certain way. Our approach in life, we have our own flow. What is that? Isn't that a preference? There's a preference of likes and preference of dislike, the duality. yes and no uh, approach. And that preference, that belief is called the ego cell. We are identifying ourselves with a certain preference, that is the ego. We identify ourselves with certain ideas, that's an ego. Definitely, there are healthy ego and stubborn ego. And healthy ego is simply the positive approach in life. Kindness, compassion, generous, understanding oneself and the world is a healthy ego. Connecting to the pattern and conditioning ourselves with a certain pattern which help us to support life is healthy ego, healthy pattern. Now those are called healthy ego. And unhealthy ego is when there is violence, brutality, unhealthy ego. So healthy ego definitely works in the world. That what makes the world come together. People come together to drop the hate. Love always wins when there's a violence. Eventually, love always wins in the world. So that is all positive. That is all healthy ego. Opposite of that is unhealthy ego. Now, healthy and unhealthy ego, those are simply two sides of the same coin. And to figure out who we are, we have to drop the coin. We have to drop the negative side and the positive side. It is easier to say dropping, isn't it? We have to drop this and that, drop all. And when we start to do it, that's the challenge. That's where we feel the heat. The spiritual journey is about, the figuring out who we are is about dissolving the ego. Dissolving the ego means dissolving the mind. Remember what I said? All belief we have or what we identify ourselves with is an ego. What we identify ourselves is the mind, isn't it? First we have the mind, the ideas, the preference. That is ego. So to be free from the fear or to figure out the truth of who we are, we have to dissolve the ego. Dissolving the ego means dissolving the mind. Dissolving the mind is the way to see the unchanging truth in us. That is also called the plain sight truth or the consciousness itself. The dissolving, dismantling. To get to the truth of who we are, we have to remove all the changing nature in us. When we dissolve all the changing nature in us, which is the mind, we end up with the unchanging. Right now, it's piled under the changing layers. And changing layers is what we are conditioned with, which is the mind. We are conditioned in a certain way in the mind. We are conditioned in the body. And to see the truth of who we are, to be free from the mental cage, emotional prison, we have to undo the conditioning. So basically, the undo the physical conditioning or emotional conditioning can be done by tracing the mind backward. The journey to figure out who we are is about tracing the mind. And the simple way to trace the mind is by asking ourselves why. Why is the simple way to trace the mind backward. So here, I mentioned that all ideas are false. And if the ideas are true, if the idea is who we are, then there should be no fear in life. But that's not true, isn't it though? No matter how upgraded ideas we have, the fear still exists. Now, the fear exists. Everyone has a fear in life. Right now, if you don't see the fear, it's simply because you are having fun. And notice this. Every action you are putting out there is to invite fun in life, to maintain the fun. But imagine if you're not able to put your effort to create the fun, to maintain the fun, you'll end up with the fear, isn't it? The fear is there underneath your fun. So the fear is there in everyone's life. Because of the fear, we control things, isn't it? We are controlling our relationship with everything, not to lose the fun. We are resisting certain things not to lose the fun with every relationship, with the relationship with the person, relationship with the work, relationship with the physical world. We are controlling, we're resisting. So the attitude of control and resistance is there just to maintain the fun, so we can avoid the fear. So fear is there. If you don't see the fear, ask yourself, reflect. Am I afraid in my life? Definitely you are afraid of losing. That is the, that is the fear. Is there. Fear of losing is the intense fear in everyone's life. Again, fear of losing to anything. Fear of losing your loved one, fear of losing your job, fear of losing a lot of stuff. Ultimately, all fear comes down to fear of death. Death is the fear that we all avoid. The base of the fear is the fear of death. Why? Because death means no more fun, no more experience in life, isn't it? And right now, all our effort is there to maintain the fun so we can avoid the death, the momentary death or the ultimate death. Nowadays, you can even see, to avoid death, people are so into to push the death away. People are into diets, so they think they can prolong life. And there are many stuff resurfacing in the world just to prolong life, prolong longevity. But no matter how much we try to avoid that, eventually it will come sooner or later. And when it comes, we won't even know. We won't know. It comes and it ends life. That's it. Anyway, fear of death is the ultimate fear. Now, the fear is there, right? Now you ask yourself, why? why am I afraid of, or why do I have fear? That's it. Why do I have fear? See, this is the why. Using why to trace the mind backward. Why do I have fear? When you see the fear, there should be the reason, there should be the answer when you question yourself. So when you ask, why do I have fear? There should be answer. Just wait. Just allow this why to be the background for the mind to resurface. And whatever answer resurface first, now use that answer to trace the mind backward. Now, why is that important to me? When you ask why am I afraid, or why do I have fear, the answer comes in. Now use that answer. Why is that important? Or why do I have this idea in me? So the second why is going to help you to give you another answer. Same way, keep asking yourself why until you see the root cause of the fear. When you see the root, basically it's the ingrained conditioning in you, and your life is happening from that root. And whatever you're doing in your life is to avoid the fear, or you're listening to the fear so you don't have to go through the uncertainty in your life. So you're listening to the fear and you're acting from the place of fear to maintain certain things. So that's your root cause. And you have to let go of that as well. You have to dissolve that to figure out the truth of who you are. So once you figure out the root cause of your surface movement, you dismantle the root as well with the same why. Now at the root, you have to give up. Whatever root is there, root is the attachment. Whatever attachment in your life is there, so you have to let go of that as well. But this is where, letting go work becomes difficult, because your fear doesn't want to let go. And to see who you are, you have to let go. So there's a contradiction. There is this friction. Once you see the root cause of your attachment and you have a hard time giving up, you can't see who you are, because the attachment is the blockage not able to see who you are. So you have to investigate why you are having a hard time to let go. So you can utilize it like that. Why am I having a hard time to let go? So that way you can see the fear lining up. And you have to go further until the fear can be dissolved. You have to face your fear. That's where you have to, practice letting go. And that's where it prepares you to ultimately see who you are. That's where you start, you will end up seeing the unchanging truth. And that's where the ego gives up. The ego self drops, because the ego realizes that the ego can't comprehend the truth. That means you cannot comprehend the truth by seeing the truth. That's why your ego drops. And you'll take the true seed of who you are as consciousness. You become the conscious self. You become the being without the illusion. And that's freedom, my friend. So far, what you know about yourself is an idea. and all ideas are not true. Why? Because if it's true, you should be living your life fearlessly. But right now, that's not the scenario. Your life is full of fear. That indicates that the idea is also not true. And spiritual reference is already there. All ideas are false. And to get to see the truth of who you are, you have to work on the reverse engineering, which is dismantling the mind until you see the truth of who you are. That's it. When you see the truth, you are enlightened. Until then, you can definitely, can be aware of certain things, but even being aware, the fear is not dissolved yet. So to dissolve the fear, truth must be seen. And that is, again, waking up from the false. That is enlightening oneself with the backward movement. That is awakening the Buddha nature in you. That is Christ consciousness. That is Shiva. That is Allah. Allah, Shiva, all the gods is the truth. And truth is not an idea. Okay? So, I hope this makes sense to you. So if you are seeking to figure out the truth of who you are, you must dismantle the mind. You have to follow your mind backward. That's the journey. All right? Thanks for watching. That's all in this video. I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now. Bye.